Hello, welcome to Lockbox Lunatics. I'm Chad Camp down here in Chandler, Arizona, with my trusty cohort, Steve Lambert, up from Kennewick, Washington. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right.
You were close. You were close.
Don't ask me to spell it.
Kennewick, Washington. So,
Okay.
whereas I'm gonna owe Chad $20, but it's cold. It's cold and gray again. Imagine that.
Hey, were you down here at the Waste Management Open? Because I think I saw you streaking onto the 17th hole.
I wish that was me.
That
I
wasn't
would.
you? Okay.
I would. Yeah, it would have been a great story to have, right? A great
So
story to
I'm
have.
just
But no,
as
I
not,
wasn't there.
I'm excited about our weather, but I'm more excited about our special guest today. We've got a guest coming to us from Texas, James Rowlett, if I pronounce the name
You
correctly.
actually got it right. Yeah,
Okay,
nobody gets it right.
perfect. So we came across James on TikTok. He's up and coming sensation on TikTok, right? But
I
but
guess.
he talks about different issues that impact consumers and agents, and that's kind of why we have him on here. So welcome, James. If you'd give us a quick little backstory on how you got
Sure.
involved in real estate, and we'll kind
Yeah.
of dive into our topic after that.
Well, originally I was an engineer here in Texas. I graduated from A&M and got into oil and gas and did that for like 15 plus years. And great career. I did a lot of stuff like deep water projects out in the Gulf of Mexico. And my last 8 years I was with BP. But the problem is in 2014, oil went from like $100 a barrel down to $27 a barrel. So anytime you work on something that becomes worth 25% of what it used to be worth, yeah, they start looking to cut corners, and I was one of the corners got cut. So I lost my contract at the end of 2015, and tens of thousands of engineers were out of work. And all my friends, probably about 40 of them who had got let go starting in 2014 to the end of 2015, nobody got a job. So I was like, all right. I applied for jobs for about 6 months, and it was just dismal. So I said, I'm going to go get a real estate license. I can pay the bills. This will be okay, for a little bit to buoy this until oil picks back up. And second year, I sold 10.8 million. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing real estate now. So yeah, and then it just kept going up, and I had a really good run on it. I've been doing this for 9 years now, and it's a good career. It's nice. It's flexibility. It allows me to not worry about getting axed with the ups and downs of oil and gas. Being 56 now, so it's like I said, it's been a good career. You kind of set your own schedule, which means I don't get to set anything. Customers a lot of times just kind of run roughshod over you on that, but so it's been a good run. And the biggest thing for me is I look at real estate, and the problem I have with it is it's a complete lack of organization as a whole. Because it's 2 million 1099 employees or contractors, so it's herding cats. You can't really control what they do, and that's a problem that I always see with the industry. So I've just started kind of picking that apart on TikTok. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I love it. I love it 100%. So, in terms of scale of 1 to 10, how accurate is Landman?
How accurate is Landman? That's land based. That was deep water. The absolute craziness of the show is that's like it's caricature status. I mean, that's like watching Dilbert except real life. I mean, yeah, it's not. It coins things that are happening, but I couldn't watch it just because the characters were like one dimensional to me. So we made about 4 episodes of that, and finally I was like, I can't watch this anymore.
I had
But
to
he does
ask.
hit
I had
points
to
that are
ask.
true. Yeah, he hits points that are true. People don't realize. They're like, well, we just get rid of oil. I'm like, yeah. Do you like plastic? Do you like lubricants? I'm sorry. Even if you get a car that doesn't need oil, it needs oil. It's
100%.
that's the way it works. It has to have that for the plastics and the lubricants to actually make it operate. So
It's the
you're never
basis of a
getting away
lot of
from it.
things. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
basis of a lot of things. You brought up a really interesting point, the disjointed nature of the business that you're now in, that we're all in,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And coming from a corporate background like that with a structure, much like I did myself, I came from medical background, medical sales, where everything was very structured and very organized. And I first stepped into real estate, and how does all this manage to come together at the end of the day? There's 58,000 moving pieces, and nobody's talking to anybody at the same time. It was fascinating to me. What Yeah, when you first came into it, did you feel like that was a challenge?
Well, the challenge was getting a paycheck. That was the first challenge, actually. So I got into real estate, and I didn't close a deal for my first. Well, actually, I take it back. I did commercial for about 3 months. Realized that wasn't going to take off, so it took me about 6 months in commercial. In residential to even close a deal. And so I went like, 9 months in real estate without getting paid. And then after that, it just kind of took off. I still ended up closing 2 million for the year and then went off. But my thing is as I started going deeper and deeper into this is you look at agents go, I don't like this, or this is this problem sucks or whatever, but they don't break it out. It's like, well, why does it suck? Well, why is it this way? And you don't start asking the probing questions and start trying to get at the root of the cause to if I can figure out exactly what specifically is the problem, maybe we could fix things. And nobody does that. It's kind of like my foot hurts when I'm walking on it. You're like, well, why? It goes, well, it just hurts. Where? Well, in the middle. Where? Well, that red spot. I'm like, well, what's in the red spot? There's a little black speck. What is that? I don't know. You're like, I think you might have a thorn in your foot. It's just, oh yeah, we could remove the thorn and maybe it'll heal up and then you'll start walking better. But they don't go through the level of stuff. It's just like, that just sucks. And they just keep moving on. It's like, and that's the problem of dissecting a problem and trying to figure out how did we get here and how can we fix it to go forward. I mean, it's people just kind of accept it. And that's the other thing is because we're not properly organized, people just accept problems and just keep operating.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the refreshing things, when I stumbled across your I believe TikTok, is that you were just so candid with regards to your take on different aspects of the industry. And you've got to be able to criticize an industry that you're in. I've been in it for a time. Everyone's been in it for a while. And you've got to be able to criticize it and dissect it and find out what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and how you can improve. And the trick is identifying those issues. And one of those issues that we were going to talk about today is Zillow, right? Is Zillow good? Is it bad? Is it good? Or, what are the pros and the cons for a consumer, the pros and cons for an agent? And when we spoke at length on the other day, James, you had brought some interesting points around from both the agent perspective and the client perspective. And some of these things we recognize, but no one is willing to say in a public forum such as yours, right? So if you would just share let's start with the consumer side of things. The consumer, as agents, we hear, how come my home's not showing up on Zillow, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So whenever you have it, when you start looking at Zillow is not there to serve buyers or sellers. They're there to serve Zillow. They serve the shareholders. That's what their point is. They have just figured out how to monetize a real estate transaction, which they're not a party to it. They're not the buyer. They're not the seller. They're not the agent. They're just figured out the way of effectively pulling money off of the deal, upwards of 40% off of a transaction. And the problem that a home seller doesn't get is the home seller thinks that Zillow is helping them to sell their home, which they're not. All the home seller is to Zillow, if I look at this at the business model, you always say, well, I'm a consumer and that's the business that I'm doing. And they have advertising and I'm buying a product. Well, if I start going through sellers and buyers, a home buyer is the product. Home seller is the advertising, and the client or the consumer for Zillow is the real estate agent. And people don't get this model correct. And so when you start looking at it that way, it kind of takes the rose-colored glasses off of how important it is that my home's on Zillow, which, yes, people do find it, but they would have found it anyway. And, they were going on to the local MLS or whatever. It still would have been found once they realized this is where I look. But Zillow just adds convenience to the system. But the problem is they've gone down these paths of deceptive practices, which is effectively, if I click a button that says, I want to connect and contact the agent, I want to schedule a showing. Consumer, which is not the consumer, the product, it's a home buyer, they think that they're contacting the listing agent. And people are like, well, people are smarter than that. I'm like, not when they do this every day. You're giving benefit of the doubt. I think everybody can do calculus. I'm an engineer. Why can't you do calculus? It's like, I start realizing that people can't multiply, and it's like, some people can't even add. It's just like, it baffles my mind. So you can't assume what the home buyer or seller is doing on there that they actually understand this. They don't know that they're not contacting the agent. They don't know that they've all of a sudden are giving up rights that's fixing to allow them to be spammed by Zillow. They have no clue of what they're doing. And the other thing is, from the seller perspective, the seller thinks, with my home being on Zillow, oh my God, I'm getting all these views and these people are all interested. I'm like, yes. And me as the listing agent, I'll never get a single call off of Zillow. Why? Because They're giving that lead to somebody that's signed up a contract to give up 40% of their income to Zillow for that lead. And so, as a home seller, you think Zillow's helping to sell your home. All it's doing is helping to get an agent who's agreed to give a chunk of their money to Zillow an opportunity to meet with a lead in your living room to have their buyer consultation. So instead of them having it at a coffee shop, over the phone, or in their office, they're doing it in your living room. They're not there to
Yeah.
sell your house. They're there to earn a new client. Now they're going to try to sell them a house. It just may not be your house.
I love
So
that
yeah,
you're laying it out like that because, as you know, we fight this battle all the time, right? In listing agreements and everything else, where people talk about Zillow. Well, Steve, what about this? What about that?
yeah,
And the bottom line is that, hey, look, the internet today is the front newspaper. There's you've got 450 front page newspapers to be on, right? Zillow happens to
right,
be the one that people know the most, but it's interesting because, like you said, when they look at it, well, I have, how many saves do you have? Oh, I've got 45 saves and I've got, 1,300 favorited or whatever
right,
else. Okay, great. Do we have an offer in hand? Because the offer is going to come from somebody here within our market that's actually out promoting your house. That's generally where it's going to come from. And it's through through our own marketing efforts to each other, or, getting out and selling your home actively. But it's fascinating because, like you said, this whole mantra of it being there and becoming, it's superseded the agent in the process to where
right.
Zillow is the end all be all. And I love the fact is like, well, you're providing a product for them that they would have no platform if you didn't provide your product, which is your house, right? And so I think it's cool that you're laying it out that way. So when you put that TikTok out there, what type of feedback did you get? I'm curious to see. So what were some of the background things, and what was did you get any pushback on that? I'm sure you did.
Oh, yeah. No, I get both. Well, you get both. So there are, you can tell, look, first off, consumers, if you have a consumer attack you, they're always like, well, Zillow is going to replace real estate agents. And I'm kind of like, you do realize how the listings got on Zillow in the first place, right? You do understand that Zillow's handing this off to somebody to go show the house, which who could that possibly be? Oh, yeah. Right. That's it. It's real estate agents. It's real estate agents listed. Real estate agents are showing. So they're not getting rid of Zillow. Zillow's not getting rid of the agents. Zillow is just skimming off of the agents. That's all they're
Right.
doing. And
Right.
whenever they talk about commissions getting out of control, that's the other part. If you've got an entity in this that's skimming 40% off of the commission, and you're wanting us to reduce the commissions, it's kind of hard to do when you have some entity that's just stepped in and they're taking 40%. So you want to talk about savings, stop going on Zillow and clicking on the stuff. It would allow you to do this. But as far as the people that are hitting you up, it's like, yeah, the consumers attack me sometimes. But what I find interesting is an overwhelming support of agents that do believe what I talk about. But then are those that step up that attack me for going, well, you're just angry at Zillow, or this is the way of the future and stuff like that. And I'm 9 times out of 10, probably, excuse me, 98 times out of 100, I can put their name into Zillow to look them up, and it's got the Premier Agent logo underneath their photo. And,
Yeah.
yeah, and it says top agent. And if they have a team, they have, all it says is no recorded sales, no reviews, top agent. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
they're
I've got,
protecting their marketing investment, right? Because
yeah,
people don't realize that, you let the cat out of the bag a little bit, which I love to tell consumers as well in our market. It's like, hey, I can have my face on there too. Zillow just wants to know who's going to write the biggest check to me that month to have
yep,
their face there to say, Steve's a wonderful agent, Chad, James, they're all amazing agents. They give us 20 grand a month to say that, right? And
that's the old
people
way of
don't
doing it.
understand
Yeah,
that, right? And they don't get the, and I love the fact that you bring up that they're providing the product on, the agent went and got the listing. The client's giving the listing to Zillow for all intents and purposes at that
right.
point. And then Zillow's saying, oh, by the way, we're going to take money from the agent who went and got the listing on top of it. So they're getting it on both
Yes.
sides. They're like, this is a great thing for us, right?
Yeah.
And those homeowners that have their house on Zillow, they're expecting, us as the listing agent to be the one handling those phone calls. And James, you're spot on. We're not receiving those phone calls.
Yeah. You don't get
And
any calls.
and those individuals that are reaching out to Zillow, they're reaching someone who doesn't even know this house exists until that
Yeah.
lead comes in. Right.
Right.
So they don't know all the intricate details about the home. And that's what the sellers are employing us for, is to be able to get that information out into the hands of the consumer. And that's not happening.
Right. Well, the other thing is too, is whenever they're sitting there, the person showing your home has zero interest in selling that home. They just, their main interest is retaining that person as a new buyer. That's their number one goal when they first go and get that call off of Zillow. They are trying to retain that person and trying to earn their business to be a buyer. And they might sell your home, but they're looking to sell them a home, not just that, not that home. Their only goal is just to make sure that, hey, can I get you to work with me going forward? Because, you know, I really need the business because, you know, if you're on a team doing this stuff, most of these people on teams are making 30% of the commission. Once they give 40% off the top to Zillow, they give a cut to the brokers, then a cut goes to the team leader, and then the team member ends up with 30%. And so, you know, it's funny, I have an agent I know really well. She's a great agent, you know, but she's on a Zillow team and she's doing this. And she's like, well, I outsold you last year because I had a crappy year. I sold like just under 4 million, which was terrible. But she's like, well, I sold 10. And I'm like, that means you sold 3. So I actually did outsell you because I was like just under the 4 million, just barely. You know, I had a horrible year last year. You know, and honestly, you know, and that's the other thing is you get burned out in this industry. And I love talking about it on TikTok some too, because people try to tell you, you know, this is how you do business. You've got to be this type of an agent. You got to do that. I'm like, it's real estate. You can define what success is for you. I'm like, I'm in my 50s. I don't have to go out and bust my hump and sit here and call, you know, 800 people a week, you know, 200 a day just to try to earn the business. I'm tired, you know. I'm like, I would rather go ahead and do some videos, talk to some friends and get referrals off of this. And if I sell less, that's fine. But you know how much my spend is on it? 0. I'm not spending anything. So you can pay for all these lead sources and beat the ground trying to find stuff. But God, honestly, it's like, you know, if I was selling, you know, between 5 and 10 million a year right now, don't care. You know, I'm good. So that's the beauty of this. So
yeah, the interesting you mentioned. Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned about, you know, burnout. My mother was an agent back in the 80s and sold in the 90s. The average home price was, you know, 75,000, 125,000.
Yeah.
And she was successful. She had enough business. She had the amount of business that she wanted. And she came to, she's like, this year I want to break 6 figures in net commissions.
Right.
She flipped the switch. She did it at the end of the year. She's like, that was a lot of work. I didn't get to spend as much time with my grandchildren as I wanted. I'm just going to go back to my old production. And she flipped the switch and went right back to it. And I don't think folks understand, you know, that burnout is what are we giving up to be able to do that kind of level, right? And so it's priorities from that perspective. But switching from the consumer side of things over to the agent side of things, I don't think agents understand the amount of control that they've given up by allowing Zillow to take control of our data and utilize that. Yes, you can get, you know, one of the questions we receive as brokers whenever we're bringing someone on is, do you provide leads? Right. And so a lot of these Zillow teams, that's what their basis is on are those leads. But how good are those leads coming in through Zillow? And then what is the cost these agents? You've already touched point on that, you know, 30, 40%.
Right. Well, the other thing is too, is Steve said this a while ago, it's whoever's paying the most that month is who Zillow says is the top agent. That you're referring to is the Premier Agent plan. The Premier Agent plan is you pay for a zip code and you pay X number of dollars into a zip code every month. And depending on the pie, so let's say that it's a $50,000 a month zip code and you're paying 10, you get 1/5 of the leads. You know, if you pay 25,000, you're getting 50% of the leads. And that's the original way that Zillow used to do business. When they rolled out the Flex program, they said, hey, instead of you paying us and us just giving you leads, percentage-wise, we're going to give you leads for free. And when you close it, you're going to give us, initially it was like, I think like they were doing like 30%, but then went 35, now it's 40. They just keep going up. The problem with this is the platform, Zillow, the lead generator. What did they do different when they rolled out the Flex program, which by the way is now called Preferred, but yeah, we'll still say Flex. What did they do different to generate new leads to feed the Flex program? They didn't do anything. And if they had the ability to do it, they would have done it. So where did they get the leads from? They got it from Premier Agents. So all these people paying for all these leads, all of a sudden overnight, if they roll it out in your market, your leads get cut by 40 to 50%. I mean, overnight, it's just gone. And they're now feeding it to Flex, but you have to take it a step further. How do they get paid on Flex? The agent has to close the deal and then they will give 40% of the commission to Zillow. So if I've got a lead and it's got a real estate agent, would I give that lead to the Premier Agent who's already just paid me for the month? Or do I give it to Flex, who I only get paid if they close it? Well, I give it to the Premier Agent because they've already paid me and I don't care if they close. I don't want my Flex agents wasting their time on something they can't close. So
Right.
the point of this is, if I'm sorting apples, we're talking about, I don't know what part of the country you're in. I mean, you've got Whole Foods apples and you got Walmart apples. And I'm like, you tell me who's got the better apples. And that's the whole problem, is they get sorted. Does it have a real estate agent? Is their intent to buy strong? Are they looking to buy within 30 days? Do they want to buy the specific house? Are they approved for the lender and don't have a real estate agent and want to buy right now? Do you think that would ever go to an agent who's already paid for a lead, or to the guy that's going to give 40% up to Zillow? They completely sorted it out and screwed these Premier agents. And so if you are still a Premier agent with Zillow, you're a sucker. I mean, straight up, you are a plain out sucker. You are getting the garbage apples at Walmart.
Yeah, they've been pushing that other program. It's interesting. They keep calling and talking about that other program. You know what the other thing is consumers are pretty unaware of in this whole process is, as part of a referral legally, there's a lot of notes to that transaction that have to be sent over with that referral information. Zillow is gathering data about clients that they really didn't have access to until they rolled this out because of that referral program. I'm sure they're getting names, phone number, all kinds of information, pricing information, possibly concessions, things like that, that they did not have access to. So, what is Zillow doing with that information? That's a whole nother thing that we have no idea what's happening with that information and where's it going, right?
Yeah.
I wonder though, that's the other thing. And I made this is like pushing it out there, but it's like, but data is data. It's like, I questioned, and I did this in a video one time. Zillow is getting information on, do you have a real estate agent? Are you looking to buy something now, 30, 60, 90 days? Have you talked to a lender? Are you pre-approved? What is your price point? They get all these different metrics into it. I'm just wondering if they go, they're qualifying and building a buyer profile, but could they even take it to a step to where they're following metrics that are like, and I hate saying out loud, fair housing violation type stuff. We're like, oh, we're studying this, and they start studying the habits of certain people, and they say, well, these are less likely to close with an agent, so therefore we give this to Premier, and we won't give them to Flex. It's like, how insidious could they be? Because they had, and the only reason why I brought this one up is when I saw the paperwork come out on Zillow on one of their strategies where they had their little bull session, and they said an agent that they don't like, they will use SEO and SEM, search engine marketing, to bury your name. So you could type in James Rowlett into Google, I won't appear. If they truly had it out for me, they will completely bury you. That is one of their plans. And I'm like, nobody in a corporate level, from like when I was at BP as a contractor, it's like, I can tell you, and I also did projects for Shell. Nobody at like any of these oil companies were like going, yeah, how do I make Chevron look bad?
Right.
We're going to make them look really bad. We're going to actually cause a scandal on one of their executives. They're like, no, it's like, figure out how to land that lease over them. See if we can get the inside scoop on what they're bidding, or what are they working on? That's the kind of thing they're doing. They're not sitting there going, I want to take someone down personally, which Zillow was putting that in writing, which is the crazy part. They put it in writing. So the fact that they even think to that level, and that we're real estate agents, we have a level of ethics, and also as far as the treatment of people in general, as far as like, you don't want to do discrimination on a bloodthirsty corporate psychopath level that they have on these corporate boards. That ethics does not jive with them.
Yeah,
it's a totally different way.
Wild,
I know y'all are probably like, holy crap, I should have put him on.
Oh, no. I mean, I think it gets pretty crazy. I think it does get pretty crazy. Yeah. So we're kind of wrapping up on our time here. So I have a question for you. So, we're going to have a lot more discussions. We're excited to have you on and continue into a lot of other discussions. You have a myriad of topics that you're really touching on. Right. Are super relevant. But as, so I'm agent A and I'm going into a listing appointment and somebody says something about Zillow. What advice would you give that agent? How do you deal with the Zillow question?
Well, if they're asking about Zillow, I'm like, absolutely. It's your property is going to be on Zillow, but I go ahead and I lay it out to the consumer, and I can tell you, when you tell a home seller that Zillow is skimming 40% off of a deal, you watch their mouth drop. So what? And I go, yeah. And also I go, you're wanting that house on there. I go, all those buttons that say contact the agent and also schedule a tour. I go, I'll never know if they click those. And like, what do you mean? I go, because it's going to an agent that's paying them 40% of the commission. I go, oh, and by the way, they're also going to put a pricing strategy on your listing that's going to tell prospective buyers how to lowball your property. And they go, what? I go, yeah. And it shows a percentage chance of what they think that they will accept it. They have that's actually one of the things that they have offer strategy on the listings now. Not all of them, but I think it's like, I want to say 30 or 40% of the listings right now have it. They've been rolling it out. I go, they are teaching the buyers how low they could undercut your price. How is that helping you?
Yeah.
And that's where they go, maybe I don't want my property on Zillow. You start explaining this to them, they don't get that. It's the same thing of, on anything of all the metrics that they're going on. What's the chance of, a fire, wind damage, hurricane, flooding, that type of stuff, where they stripped it. CRMLS got Zillow to take that off because it was killing them on some of the sales in some of their areas. And, CRMLS is in lockstep with Zillow out in California. So
Oh, yeah, definitely.
it's just nuts.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, James, why don't you go ahead and tell our viewers how they can connect with you and where they can follow you and learn a little bit more about what you've got to say.
Okay. Well, I am on TikTok. Sometimes there are profiles that are not me, but you can go on there. Obviously, look for. I have a year plus of videos on there. I'm around 8,600, a little over 8,600 followers right now, but it's just James Rowlett HTX, but I think there's an underscore in there. But if you type in, my name's down there in the corner, James Rowlett, search that on TikTok, you can find a picture of me, and usually you can find me griping about something in real estate online. So, once you click that, that's it. That's the best way to go. I am on Instagram as Houston Home Team. And of course, if y'all want, my date is public. So if you're looking for a phone number or email, call me. I typically will pick up the phone, ask Chad.
Yeah.
He called me.
So we'll go ahead and include your contact data in our description in YouTube below. So thank you for spending time with us, James, and for the viewer, thank you. If you liked the session, like, comment, and subscribe. Share this with your other agents and consumers that you think would be applicable. If you also have any ideas for additional topics, go ahead and share those with us in the comments section, and we'll reach out. And James, we look forward to have you on additional episodes of Lockbox Lunatics. As of right now, we'll sign off, and we will catch you all later. Take care.
Right. Thank you.